Nerdiest Prime.
Welcome to Nerdiest Prime, where we are reviewing every episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2, and we are on the last 2 episodes. And tonight, we are reviewing an epic Star Trek doubleheader. You know, back in my academy days, I used to follow up every intro with a song. Come cheer up, my lads, it's the glory we face. Add something more to this
wonderful year.
For who are so free
As the sons of the brave.
What
did I come back to? What happened?
All systems stable. All systems stable.
All systems stable. But why are we singing?
Let's talk about episode 9, Subspace Rhapsody. And what are our initial thoughts?
And get them in song.
Let's see if I can do this. Let's see. I really loved it, which was a surprise to me. I was not expecting that at all. It was a shock. None of that rhymes.
That's fantastic.
But I did. I really liked it. It turns out that I like musicals, and they did it well. And it was totally unexpected. I sat down getting ready to absolutely hate the episode, and I didn't. I was like, this kind of is working for me. The music was great. All the character development was really good. So yeah, that was like a big thumbs up, man.
Well, this is how you should be watching every episode of Strange New Worlds. You just go into it going, "This is gonna suck," and you're gonna have a great time.
I am a musical fan, and I was expecting to enjoy it. I didn't want to be like, I'm going to love this, because I didn't want to sort of oversell it to myself. But I'm a big fan of like the Buffy musical episode, and I feel that it really ties up or brings out some really interesting plot points, and gives us character surprises, and I really felt like Strange New Worlds did it, like really succeeded in kind of hitting that high mark for a musical episode. So I loved it.
Uh-oh.
I am not a fan of musicals, as everyone probably knows by now. But this one was pretty good. I appreciate what they did. They did it well. Some of the songs went on a little too long for my liking. and some of the songs were better than others. So it was fun. It was definitely a creative leap for the franchise. Like, you can't say they're not trying something new, because that was definitely different than anything I've seen done before. So but yeah, it was fun. I mean, I did laugh a lot. I will say that there was a lot of humor here, and I did laugh a lot. But that's my problem with musicals, is that there's too much singing.
I think that might be the definition.
Well, I don't mind the occasional song and stuff, but it's like watching an episode of Simpsons, where it's like there might be a song in it, and I don't mind because the song is funny and it's brief. But I don't have to listen to songs every 3 minutes. So, but it was fun. It was fine. I mean, I don't know if I was in love with it as everyone else is, but it was perfectly fine.
I watched it, and I was really looking forward to it. I like musicals. But I have to be honest, it's the first time I think that I've ever stopped watching a Star Trek episode and like taking breaks, because it was just too much. It was too much.
Too much singing, right?
Too much joy and happiness.
And then at the end of the episode, I was like, man, I don't know. It was okay. I don't know. And then it started getting to me. I started like thinking about it. And then I went back and I watched it again. I started singing with it.
Nice.
So I liked it. It's gonna be a classic. I'm gonna rewatch this episode a lot, and I'm gonna learn all the songs. I'm gonna sing it to you guys with Jenny.
Are you gonna buy the album?
Yes, of course.
Of course, he's like, I bought it twice.
Yeah.
It's digital, but I still bought it twice.
Yeah. As we mentioned, there's been music and singing in Star Trek, but there's never been a Star Trek musical. And they had to come up with some sort of contrivance why suddenly this was happening. And there was this improbability, quantum leap thing. No, not quantum leap. What's the other
Fold.
thing? Yes, there was the fold. So how do we feel about the concept of the quantum probability field or whatever it's called, and the fact that that's what makes them sing? Is this believable? Is this a thing?
Well, I thought they sold it well because I liked how they approached sort of the explanation of it. I liked that they did it in this kind of meta way, almost explaining like the rules of, like, almost the way that they do in Scream, like where they, this is a musical, so this is the sort of the set of rules that we're working within, that people are going to sing like when they hit a heightened emotional state, that kind of thing. So I thought it explained it. It made sense why it was happening instead of it just being like a little more random or a little more loosey goosey in the explanation. And because Uhura used 20th century like musical music in her experiment, it made sense, I thought.
She used that song from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Yes, exactly.
I was okay with it. I think they could have done something else. I was hoping that they were going to do kind of like an entity of some kind. I thought it was sort of ripe for that to happen. Like a Q or a Trelane or somebody kind of makes them, burst out in song. And I think that would have been more interesting because there's an actual adversary. I feel like this show often relies on physical things, like physics problems in space, as opposed to like human entities and aliens. And I think it would have been much more interesting. Like that's what I liked about the Buffy episode, was that it was a demon,
Right.
Like it was a demon that was causing everybody to do it. So there was an actual like adversary, right? Rather than like a math problem, right? Which is essentially what they were up against. So there was a little bit of a missed opportunity there for me, but it was fine. Like the quantum tunnel was not the point, right? The point was to get everybody singing about their emotions, which they did.
I like that they had an explanation for it, like that it wasn't just randomly breaking into song like most musicals where, they're just eating dinner and suddenly everybody jumps up on the table and starts dancing and there's no motivation for that. So I like that there was a space anomaly at the heart of it that was causing this. It was very heavy on the techno babble in this one. Like, this is like the most techno babble I've heard since the Berman era Star Trek. It's like they were throwing around a lot of like the Geordie technobabble generator where it's like quantum inversion field, it's like always like three random words that is the cause of the problem. But yeah, I'm with Namir though. Like I would think that it would have made more sense. It would have been more. I would have bought into it probably more if there was like you say like an alien influence, or even if they were forced to perform for some diplomatic purpose. Like they met an alien who will only let them, mine on their moon if they sang and danced for them or something.
Oh my god.
Oh, that would have been amazing. Because the episode would have been them having to write the musical as well.
Oh
They'd have to write the music and then perform it.
I will take another
That's
musical
amazing.
episode if that's the concept.
That's actually brilliant.
Yeah, they should do that next season.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. Yeah. If you're ever watching this, you can have that idea.
Yeah, I think there could have been less explanations. They could have just been like, we're in the singing universe, and that's kind of it. But they were trying to motivate it, and I just thought like they could have just kind of gone with it. It didn't really matter to like. And I agree with you, Namir. I think it would have been this would have been a great Q episode, where like suddenly. Speaking of, because we've had stuff like this, like the Robin Hood episode. Like the Robin Hood episode is ridiculous. There's no reason for the Next Generation crew to be Robin Hood, basically. What's our favorite song?
I did like Ahora's number in engineering the second to last song.
Mhm.
Like, she's a great singer. Like, she
Yeah.
really brought the house down with that number, and of course the final one where they all have to, bring the break the anomaly or whatever the heck it is they were doing.
I'm a big fan of when they take all the melodies and like mix them together and like Les Mis style. So as soon as they were like, okay, everyone has to sing and it has to be like huge, and I'm like, yes, we're doing it. This is, I love that stuff. But I also like Chapels. I just like the vibe of that. That was great.
That was
I,
great,
I,
yeah.
I am really looking forward to actually like learning all the words and singing the hell out of it. Honestly, serious.
Yeah, I agree with Jenny. I think the closing number was really, really great. They did it well. I mean, it wasn't like they didn't half-ass it, right? Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't just the saucer section. They really went for it, and like, so I'm kind of interested on who they brought on board to actually write these songs.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, and sort of create all the music for it. I mean, like, super talented people. So that was, the closing number, and then obviously the Klingon interlude was hilarious, so amazing. That's if I could pick an actual favorite song, it would be that one.
Well, you know what I realized is that they were doing K-pop, and then I realized they're doing Klingon pop.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Oh.
That's right. Because we talked a little bit offline about it, and we were like,
Yeah.
I was like, it's rap, and Alan was like, no, it's a boy band. But you're right. It's K-pop.
Yeah. And that Klingon was Bruce Horak, eh?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a
That
little Bruce
was-
Horak cameo.
Yeah,
Nice.
we got that was, I guess, when they said that he would be back and you wouldn't recognize him, must have been as the
Yeah.
Klingon captain rather than Zombie Hammer.
I was a little bit afraid there's like there's kind of a high school musical kind of
Hmm.
type of musical sound, and which is a more modern type of musical.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit afraid when I saw the trailer that they were going to kind of cheat and go that way. But the fact that they were really kind of going all through history, they had a little I forget the name. The two guys who did this.
Rogers and Hammerstein.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was that number with number one and Kirk.
Yes.
And they did it basically was when it sounded like the Sound of Music.
Mm.
And but I love the Klingon K-pop, and I just wanted that to be like way longer.
Definitely.
I want a whole episode of K-pop.
Did I see you shaking
Okay.
your head, Alan? He's just like, oh my God. He's just disgusted with us.
It was kind of weak how they got Kirk on board with his first officer training.
Well, you can't criticize the
no
episode
sense.
on logic.
Yeah.
And then it was like,
Exactly.
and then they have a song between them about it. I'm like, it's already kind of a weak way to get Kirk on the ship, and then they sing a song about it, and I was like, this is where it's like really dipping.
I was rewatching it last night, and I was like, I'm just even the lawn song where I was like, no, I kind of like it. I'm like,
See, that was a downer too, and it seemed unnecessary because we already know she's like sad and shit, and I was like, I don't need to hear about her unrequited crushes for 5
Oh my
minutes.
God.
It's called character development.
But we've already developed that character. We already know that she wants Kirk and can't have him, and she is in love with alternate Kirk. And
Well, that's not what she was saying. She was singing about the fact that she it's time for her to become like a new person, and she doesn't want to be that old person who's like in her shell. She's ready to come out of her shell.
You gotta listen to the lyrics, Alan. The lyrics.
They're important.
not just the melody. Okay, so how do we feel about? I guess there's two romances going on in this episode. There's the Pike Batel romance, and of course there's the Kirk Lon romance. So how do we feel about the romances and how they're fitting in, and not just in the episode, but in the series in general at this point?
Well, I think it's really. I think the Pike Batel thing. I think is it's interesting watching a captain that isn't Picard have a like drawn out, back and forth kind of situation, and especially with another captain, because there's a it eliminates some of the issues that were issues with Picard and his various interests. So I'm on board for it. To be continued, but yeah, like I think it's being handled pretty well. I mean, I can, they're not just like completely in it. I don't know what I'm saying. I like it mostly.
Okay.
And honestly, the Lon Kirk thing, I'm completely into. Christina Chong is like, whatever she wants to do, I'll watch, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, Lon and Kirk that's a good pairing, that dynamic. They work really well off each other. I think Pike and Batel is starting to annoy me a little bit because the subtext is that Pike can't get into a relationship because he's not going to live, right? Like he's got this predestined death, but they haven't really talked about it yet, right? Like he's not really, like that doesn't seem to be a thing that's being followed up on in the show, and I find that really strange. Like he should not, and maybe it's just like that is the subtext that we're all supposed to be picking up on it, but it's not being articulated. He's not really kind of struggling with it, or trying to kind of get a handle on that. So I don't know if that's even the case. So it seems like there should be more depth to that relationship because of it, but I'm not seeing it. So, and when we talk about the next episode, I think it'll be a little bit interesting. But right now, it's just like it just feels like a high school crush, and I think there's more to it than that.
Yeah, I never really thought about it, but Namir's right. It would be more interesting if they brought his knowledge of his fate into their relationship somehow, and because I think that'd be interesting. That he has to that's hindering him from getting close to anyone, or he can open up about it and find some sort of comfort with someone, to live out his days with, or whatever, who's willing to do that for him. So, but I don't, again, getting when we get into the next episode, I don't know how much longer she is for this world, but
for some reason, we're not going to reveal.
Well, I feel like, and I'm not sure too, like if, because I mean, in the first season, he got with that alien girl that he had known previously. So I don't know if they're like in an open kind of like, oh, we can still date other people, if they're exclusive now, or what the deal is. But it seems like Star Trek usually likes to keep their captain single so they can mingle. So.
Oh, so what you're saying is you want a status report?
Nice.
Yes, I suppose so. Because I don't know if she's going to be around that much longer, and I feel like that's going to be like Pike's. It's going to play into Pike's future arcs. That he might have to go through a loss, but we'll see.
Pike is not dying. Namir said he it was saying
no.
he was gonna die.
I just feel like this. It has all these pieces put in place. Like she's going to bite it, in the near future. So they're building up this emotional pain. All these things are building up to this emotional thing where she's going to end up dead. And he's going to have to deal with it, and we're all going to feel.
We all know what's going to happen in the end. He's going to end up with Xena on Talos 4. That's what his whole destiny.
Well, yeah, I suppose
he's going to have a great.
No, not necessarily, because this is a reboot now. I'm on board with this being a reboot, so that's not necessarily going to happen. But on Kirk, they're cute, but I don't think Kirk is gonna, he's too much of a player to really stick around. She's just going to get her heart broke. I think her heart's already broken, so she's going to have to move on.
Wow. So sad.
So cynical.
Well, I mean, they already, that was the big reveal for Kirk here, is that he mentions that, Carol Marcus and being pregnant with David Marcus. So, he's got that brewing and that he has to deal with. Plus, he just has a whole history of lady friends, so I don't think he can be in a committed relationship.
I totally forgot. So we have David Marcus is in this episode, but not only David Marcus, but Dr. Korby.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're all going that route now with the, Dr. Korby is going to make some androids and go crazy on that planet, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm excited. When I saw Korby, I thought it was just going to be like a throwaway thing, and like you saw him on the screen. Oh, I have a message from Dr. Korby, but then now it became a whole thing where she's like, oh, I'm going to go do my her fellowship or whatever the thing she's going to do.
Well, she's got to go get engaged to him, right?
Archaeological medicine.
She's gonna find love away from Spock.
Yeah, she's gonna go.
Unless this is a reboot, and then it could
go get a ring on it,
Actually, I will say that as much as I hated that love triangle, that was a relationship that I wanted to see developed a little bit, Spock and Chapel, because they had that, like they were like, okay, we're going to see them be a couple for a couple of episodes, and it didn't happen. Like they basically the next episode with Boimler and Mariner, it was totally undone. So I kind of feel like that's sort of a missed opportunity. I kind of wanted to see them as kind of a couple, and that never really happened. And I know it's like the Rachel and Ross type of thing where they're always kind of getting back together again and breaking up and all of that. But I miss it.
Yeah, I don't know anymore about what's happening. I don't even know what's the truth anymore.
The truth.
With the reboot and everything. It occurred to me in watching this episode, I was like, it's a musical. Star Trek's never done a musical before. And then I realized there's so much singing in Star Trek.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to give everybody an opportunity to tell me what your favorite Star Trek singing song is. And of course, just give us a little singing, a little rendition.
Oh, man. I wish you had prepped us with these questions ahead of time. I could have gone to Wikipedia.
Yes.
The best musical number in here is definitely the Doctor in his daydream in Voyager with Tuvok undergoing pond fire during his presentation. something there. You have gone without for about 7 years about or something. Tuvok's a Vulcan man.
Oh my god! This is like blowing up in your faces.
It was very clever.
Tuvok, I understand. You are a Vulcan man. You have just gone without for 7 years about.
Bravo.
But please just run the actual clip when you edit this.
Yeah.
Maybe cut me completely out and just play the actual thing.
Namir, do you have a favorite Star Trek song?
No, because nobody sings in the Star Trek that I love.
Come on.
You know what? My one favorite Star Trek song is hearing Gene Roddenberry's lyrics to the original theme song.
And now sing them.
All I remember is something about Starflight.
Yeah.
Starlight and Starflight, etc. Kirk get laid.
And
Spock is
like,
the word.
Ends with
Really?
remember
That was the word?
me. I particularly love in Unification when they go to that bar and Worf sings Melota.
Okay, my favorite song in Star Trek is Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream.
You sing it. The words aren't important. What's important is that you have a good time singing it.
We'll be having a good time.
Now, it's time to be serious.
Okay.
Because we're going to episode 10, and the Gorn are back.
Hope is a choice.
You've told me that one before.
Maybe I'm just saying it because I need to hear it.
I was so excited. It was very intense. My heart was pounding. I was like, whoa, what's going to happen?
Yeah, when they turned around and the spaceship, it was like Independence Day style.
Yeah.
Came out of the cloud.
That was awesome. Mm-hmm.
And Spock even got to punch a Gorn in the face, pretty much. Just like Will Smith.
He did.
Welcome to Earth.
Nice.
Except he poked him in the face with a shrapnel
Yes.
on his fist.
Oh yeah, I was like, I remember that him punching the Gorn, but now I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, the Gorn episodes are hands down my favorite episodes of the
Nice.
series. Always, because like they're basically little aliens, right? Like they're like Ridley Scott aliens, and I love those movies. So anytime they're in Strange New Worlds, I'm like, I'm gonna like this episode no matter what. Even the ones I think I'm not gonna like the Hammer episode. I mean, I liked it. I liked it, and this was great. They kind of did this exactly how I would have imagined they should do it. And a couple of nice little surprises, which I think we can sort of go into, but yeah, this is great. I love this episode. It's so good.
Yes, I was happy that there was no singing and dancing. There was only running and screaming.
Although that would have been amazing if we saw like one of the Gorn babies with like a can and a top hat.
Oh my
It's
God,
like,
right?
Hello, my baby. Hello,
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal.
my... skitters off screen.
Oh my, yeah, that would have been something. Yeah, God, it was cool that it was like the first real cliffhanger we've had at a new Trek, like the to be continued at the end and everything, and it was like it brought me back to the old TNG days,
Yeah.
where you get to see. Mind you, we got like probably a 2-year wait for a conclusion of this one versus
Right.
3 months or so, but yeah, it was a real nail biter, and yeah, there was like Demir said, a few surprises that were great. I like the Alien Independence Day vibe I got from it, like you guys have already mentioned. It just felt like a throwback to 90s science fiction invasion movies. And it was, yeah, I just love this episode.
All of that, definitely. Like all of the like, kind of like alien horror type stuff. But I also liked that I felt through all of it that Pike was working on solutions. Like I felt like he was not just like, let's go in and just kill everyone and sort it out. Like I actually felt like, cause he, I don't know. He's just thoughtful. I appreciate the fact that he like seems to be thinking about what he's doing as he's doing it instead of just like walking in and blowing everybody's heads off.
Which it seems like most of the crew wants to do.
Yes.
It was very odd that even M'Benga was like, we want to just kill them all. I'm like, oh, that's not very Starfleet. I'm like,
But it's an interesting parallel to Arena, where they first introduced the Gorn. Introduced at this point now, because that was the thing. Kirk was like they had destroyed his colony, and Kirk wanted to like have revenge, and Spock was trying to talk him down. So everybody else is having kind of that reaction in this episode of wanting revenge and kind of being a little bloodthirsty, and that ends up being like Pike's responsibility to keep the Starfleet, values alive.
Yeah.
And I really like Pike. I mean, I like Pike in general, but I find in the Gorn episodes, it's like it really focuses him. It focuses the writers and it focuses him as a captain. And you can really see him like, because he's kind of like a dad with his little like apron and cutting carrots. And then he goes like, red alert, shields up. And you're like, okay, business. It's time for some business.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I thought the episode was really tight, and it was just well constructed, and I was having a good time. And I mean everything you guys said, but it was just like a sort of like a thriller, And I was having emotions and who's going to die and what's going to happen and all that sort of stuff. So how do we feel about the plot in general? The plot being basically that there's a colony. The Gorn are attacking this colony for being on their side of the demarcation line, which is very similar to the plot of Arena, which they destroyed that colony because it was supposedly in Gordon's space.
I mean, I wish they had did a little more through this season to build up the Gorn threat. I know there's like a few little scenes, but I was hoping we wouldn't have to wait till the end of the season to see the Gorn again. It was great. Like when we finally got here, it was fantastic. Sorry, I got off topic. What was the question?
How did you like the plot?
I like the plot. Um, I thought it was kind of weird though that I'm like, why is this colony outside of Federation space? I'm like, isn't there enough planets in the Federation that they could probably make a colony somewhere where they'd be protected?
Humans. Humans are always doing that.
I
Humans are always
know they're
landing on
always
planets where they're
getting
not
themselves
supposed to
into
be, you know?
trouble. Yes,
Hmm.
I know. So yeah, I thought that was kind of odd that they made this like Americana planet colony out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, you really
Well,
set
yeah,
yourselves up for
it
a.
was weird. It was weird, but it was also totally what they were doing in the original series, where they had to
Hmm.
give all the Hollywood backlots, and they would be like, "This is the planet where the cowboys live."
Yeah. This one I was like, is that Peterborough? Where did they film this? You know?
I know. I was trying to figure where they filmed it too, because
Hmm.
it
Well,
was
it
so
said I
like,
think they said it was Pickering, Ontario. There was a
Oh,
backlot
was it
there that they
Pickering?
made for some other show that they built a town
Oh,
for, and I
gotcha.
can't remember what the other show was, but and then
Hmm.
they just used that fake town.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was well done. I thought it was tense. I thought it was, like Alan was saying, it kept me on the edge of my seat. I like that it was like everybody had something to do.
Hmm.
Like even Sam Kirk, which I thought was a great addition. Like actually getting him involved and not being, him not being like a goofy character. I thought that was great. Um, so yeah, I thought it really, really moved really quickly. Like by the time the hour was over, I was like, "What? It's done? It's only been
Yeah.
20 minutes." But it's like it was like a solid hour of an episode. So it moved really fast. It didn't. There was like a couple of nitpicks because I always have them, but nothing major. No, I was totally into it.
Plot wise, yeah, I thought it was tight. I thought it got people where they needed to be in a in organic and interesting ways. I loved the remaining crew on the ship coming together the way that they did to, try to solve the problem. The whole Spock thing, Chapel like kind of raising the stakes over on the other ship. And I loved that they were completely cut off. I really liked, that they were on the planet trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to, and then the ship just comes crashing in and solves that problem. I thought that was nice. It was just nice to see the crew on the ship taking care of a problem without even, connecting with the landing party.
and one of the things you mentioned was the Spock Chapel romance played a big role in this episode, and so did the Batel Pike romance.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those romances were kind of like at the emotional center of this episode. These men worrying about their loved ones, their women, and so how did we feel about that?
I felt pretty good about it until you said that, and now I don't know.
The men worrying about their women. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's basically what's happening.
Well, that's why I kind of
sort
thought
of.
was it was a little tropey that they kind of both their girlfriends or their love interests became damsels in distress. Really, that they had to come rescue. I was like, it felt a little old fashioned that way. I'm like, they got to come to their rescue, and I
Well,
don't
it's
know.
interesting
To be
because they weren't. You go ahead, Jenny.
just that I mean Spock went over to that ship. He didn't know Chapel was there. He thought Chapel was dead. So it wasn't so much that he was going to rescue her. It just happened that they ran into each other. I mean she, and then yeah, I mean Batel. Yes, obviously Pike is motivated to get there, but it's not like the Gorn have her and they're holding her hostage just herself and she's tied to the railroad tracks and it's not quite that. I mean, I'm sensitive about that too, but I feel like they still Chapel and Batel still have agency and are
Yeah,
able to.
they're still strong
Yeah,
female characters.
yeah,
Yeah, they're definitely
Yeah,
holding their own, and
yeah,
in the thick of it. So
yeah. I mean,
I like.
I think it's there so that there's like an emotional core to the
yeah.
story. But Pike would have gone down to the planet to save the survivors no matter what, even if Batel wasn't there. I think he would have made the same decisions.
It was interesting because it really was Spock worrying about Chapel, and it really was Pike worrying about Batel, but it was just them worrying, and but then when they get there, like, Chapel gets herself out of that situation. She's like kind of on top of things. She gets her little Evie suit out, and and Batel is like, she's fine. I mean, she's not fine because she's impregnated with Gorn, but aside from that, she's alive when he gets there. So, yeah. So actually, I how do we feel about that? About this? I guess that's a part of the cliffhanger, right? Is the fact that she's got little Gorn babies inside of her. Alan, go.
Didn't anyone feel that Pike was a little dense when he's like, why didn't that Gorn attack you? And I'm like, it took him like 5 or 10 minutes to figure it out, or she finally had to show him that. I said, she obviously is impregnated. They don't want to kill their nest. And he's like, what's going on? What's going on? I'm like, you saw what happened to Hemmer last season. You should know what's going on. Why they didn't try to eat her. I was kind of screaming at the screen there. I'm like, it's so obvious what's going on.
It's funny.
I forgot.
It's funny because I actually read that a little bit more as Pike being like, maybe there's a chance here. Like, maybe there's a reason, like there's something, there's some way for us to get out of this without slaughtering each other. That was sort of like I got, that's what I took from that was him sort of going, maybe there's other options here. Maybe there's some other reason.
My
that
brain
they did
immediately
that,
jumped to the fact that, that she's got their eggs and that's why they're not eating her.
Yeah,
I
think he
that
was
immediately where I jumped.
I think he was in denial. Like I think he knew it, but he just was like not believing it, right? Because he cares for Batel. It's called love, Alan. Look it up.
I know I have love for people too, but I'm also practical and a realist, and I'm like, oh, that's probably because this.
That's fair.
Well, okay, so there are two big set pieces that are kind of action drama oriented in this episode. One is them pulling a firefly past the Reavers by pretending like the shuttle is debris, and that was a great action scene.
I said that to Maggie when I was sitting there. I was like, this is basically the scene from Firefly where they're trying to get through the Reaver. And then Spock mentions it's a zombie. So I was like, oh yeah, Firefly kind of took that from zombie movies where you gotta pretend to be the zombie.
That was my favorite joke.
Yeah.
My favorite joke was Spock's like, I've not seen a zombie, but I've seen a movie.
And then he's like, but I will research this.
Yeah.
And then the other one was the crashing of the Cayuga, which was super cool.
It was amazing.
So, yeah. Well, I guess that's it. Do we want to say anything else about it?
They were great.
No, I liked the fact that they had like clever solutions that I hadn't really seen in Star Trek before. Like they're actually, it's like Namir said, when his favorite Star Trek is like, or Star Trek should be, smart people doing smart things. And it seemed like they were really working together, coming up with smart ideas to succeed, to get to their people. And it was just great to watch a plan come together for these guys. Because like you said, everybody had something to do that was important to the plan, and it was just it was an impressive episode.
Is that what Namir said? I thought Namir said he likes Star Trek characters to work 9 to 5. People working, doing their job.
Well, they're unionized. I mean, you can't if they go past 5, it's like time and a half. It's really expensive, even without money.
Which is just loving kisses. It's too much.
Yeah,
it's too
exactly.
much. Yeah,
that's
imagine
totally.
like they have to do overtime, and then Pike has to go around and give everybody extra hugs. cook him extra meals.
Yeah,
actually, this felt like half of a feature film.
That adult Gorn was like great.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was
like I was wondering how they would like depict the adult Gorn, and
Hmm.
I thought it was great. I wasn't sure about the tail thing, but because I'm like the original Gorn didn't have a tail, but
Hmm. Like
that's a minor quibble.
I liked that it was like bulkier. I liked that it like had some girth. You know?
Yeah, like it looked menacing.
Yeah,
And I like he had a little Gorn spacesuit, little
yeah,
lizard spacesuit.
yeah,
Yeah,
which I really liked. Yeah,
and he had
But
like a
Adam said,
cute little head
yeah.
and like this little helmet. And I'm like, oh,
did,
that's
did,
He's
Adam
got
said,
adorable.
Jack.
did the tail come out of the spacesuit,
I feel like
or did
this.
they
Yes, it
have like a
did.
Yeah,
spacesuit around the tail?
It seemed like maybe it was an armored
Hmm.
tail. Like, was that a spacesuit
I'm not
tail?
sure.
Like,
I have
it
to
looked
watch it
kind of like
again.
No,
armor.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I didn't. Yeah, it was funny. It was like the tail was sticking out of the the spacesuit,
It must have been
like I
armored
don't know,
too.
like a space monkey
Ah,
or
you're
something.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Scotty. Scotty is
right.
back.
Scotty. I thought he was great. I
Hmm.
was so happy. I didn't read anything about the episode, and I wasn't expecting him to show up, and then he
Hmm.
showed up. And then he like rounded the corner, and I turned to Jen. I was like, I think that's Scotty, and she's like, nah. And then he spoke in a Scottish accent. I was like,
Oh yeah, I was like,
I
it's got
was
to be
right.
Scotty. Yeah, when he started talking, I'm
That's
like, this
Yeah.
must
awesome.
be Scotty.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's so great. Like whoever that actor is perfect. They
yeah.
they chose like exactly the right person. And to me, as soon as I saw Scotty, I realized that made me realize so much more how wrong the Kirk casting is. Because right because Spock is like that Spock, and they lean
Hmm.
into that. And Scotty, you're like that Scotty, and they lean into that. And Kirk, you're like, oh, it's Jim
It's,
Carrey,
it's Jim Carrey.
Alrighty then.
it's Ace Ventura,
But I did
it's
feel like
anybody else.
I did feel like this Scotty felt more like Simon Pegg Scotty than it felt like James Doohan Scotty.
Hmm.
That was kind of my vibe
I
from
think
him.
it just felt that way because he actually had a real Scottish accent. But I
There's
think
that definitely.
in terms of his actual look and appearance, I think he was closer to James Doohan than he was to like Simon Pegg,
Hmm.
basically.
I felt like his character though felt more like Simon Pegg, like where he's kind of chatty and sarcastic and I don't know, or he kind of reminded me of maybe even like Kelvin Universe Chekhov too. He seemed kind of young and plucky and
Yeah.
I mean, young,
But
definitely.
yeah.
I was just gonna say that I think the Simon Pegg Scotty is like the movies Scotty, like
Yeah.
Scotty from Voyage Home, right? Like when James Doohan kind of becomes that Scotty is
Hmm.
what Simon Pegg is emulating. So I think that's what this new Scotty is doing as well. Like you're right because it's not the original series Scotty, like the original TV series. It's not the same. Um, but I don't mind
But
it. Like that's the Scotty that I relate to, and
Hmm.
I sort of feel connected to.
so what is the movie era Scotty like? He has a mustache and he's overweight. Like I don't
Well,
Yeah,
understand.
he's like
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he's more cheerful and
yeah, yeah.
sort of like quippy and
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
like he picks up the mouse and he's like, "Hello, computer." You know,
yeah.
like that's Scotty,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which you would never see the original series
I
Scotty
know
do.
this ship like the back of my head. Doing, you know,
Exactly.
he's kind of
Exactly.
becomes comic relief.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I liked this young, because he's definitely younger. He's definitely. I love the little bit with him and Pelia. Like there's obviously history there, which is great. Yeah, and that he's clearly super smart, but is also like a little bit like, just sort of a bit of a joker and a bit of a like he's not taking everything super seriously, despite the fact of like what the situation that they're in is crazy, and he's just kind of like, yeah, I did it, I'm all right.
But and that reminds me actually of Scotty, like the original series Scotty,
Fair
because
enough,
that's
yeah.
how he was. There
Hmm.
was always some crazy stuff happening, and he'd just be like, "Nope, we're doing a thing,"
Hmm.
and he was very like steadfast, steady boy, steady. Yeah, we'll
Nice.
fight and we conquer again. No, we can't sing. It's not the singing part.
No,
Sorry.
we're past that.
Oh no.
that's it's the wrong episode.
So, but and this okay. We're gonna get into nitpicks. This is my first
Okay.
nitpick. Is Scotty is like 10 years older than Kirk. on the original show.
Is he?
And this he looks like he's younger than Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
Because Scotty and McCoy are the older characters on the original series.
Well, that's what I felt too. That he was a little too young, and that he was almost like he felt like Chekhov from the Kelvin movies, where he's just like it feels like fresh faced out of the academy. But I don't know how old that actor is if he's because I mean I didn't realize that the guy plays Kirk is like 40 years old. He looks younger than 40, but
He's older. He's old. He's supposed to be William Shatner when he's younger, but he's like 6 years
yeah,
older than William Shatner was on the original show.
but he could totally play 30 because he looks like he's younger than he is. But yeah, Scotty in this is a little baby faced. That a little more baby faced than I think he should be. But I'll give it a pass. It was because he did such a great job with the role. So again, we're in a reboot, so it doesn't friggin' matter.
This guy has a face, though. I think he will have that face forever. I think he's just one of those guys that just has he has a baby face and will for the rest of his life.
Yeah, like me.
Are you Scotty?
I'm forever 20.
What other nitpicks?
My biggest one was that Chapel was the only one that survived on the Cayuga, and she didn't check to see if anybody else was alive. Like, it's.
I was going to say there could have been people alive. They just didn't care. And they just crashed.
Yeah, well, exactly. Exactly. They were
like,
I guess it doesn't really matter. We'll just assume that everybody's dead, and then which is okay. But I think it would have been better if they explained how she survived. Like maybe there was a thing that was only in sick bay when she was there that allowed her to survive, like some sort of stasis. Who knows? Like technobabble gobbledygook.
I mean,
right?
I mean, they mentioned like small pockets of oxygen left, so at least that like explained how she was in an area that wasn't completely vacuum, but she definitely walked past some bodies there. Yeah, like
totally. She didn't, and I was like, at least check a pulse. You're a nurse. Check a pulse. Make sure that everybody's dead. And so that was my biggest problem with the episode is that they didn't do that. And my second other nitpick, it's not like it's just the thing that I think if they had done it, it would have been cool, but. The saucer section's crashing, and then they sort of float out through this hole in the top of the Cayuga, but they should still have the same momentum as the saucer section, right?
Oh, that drove me crazy.
I just assumed
do that in space.
I did that thing with my brain where I'm just like, oh, well, clearly they're just using their little jets, and we're just not seeing it. That's
I know,
but my brain just immediately goes into like, I'll fix this,
and you know what? You know what's funny? I was watching that, and I was like, how would Jenny fix this? And I was like, I don't think I can do it.
No.
I don't think I can fix it.
Jetpack.
But they if they had some sort of like a plume or some sort of little rockets or something that would address that, I think that would have been I could handle that. But it just kind of like stuck in my head.
Well, watching Discovery, their spacesuits have propulsion, and we're after Discovery. So I mean,
don't say the D word. You can't say the D word.
Well, no, I'm just saying it's established that they have spacesuits that have little thrusters. So
of course,
So then why didn't they use them?
Generally speaking, when we see spacesuits with thrusters, we see some indication that the thrusters are happening, and we didn't hear.
They definitely didn't use them. They just floated out the top in a loving embrace, slowly spinning in space.
It was a very nice shot.
There was defying the laws of physics.
At least it's better than in Star Trek Into Darkness when the Enterprise falls from the moon all the way down to Earth.
Say what?
In Star Trek Into Darkness, the Enterprise is in orbit of the moon, and then they lose their engines, and they just slowly fall all the way down to Earth. And I go, how is this a thing? The moon doesn't fall to Earth. Like, it didn't make it.
It does a moon fall.
It's literally in the title.
Oh my!
Oh my god.
Any other nitpicks?
I guess I had to laugh at how the Cayuga apparently got blown apart like almost immediately, but for some reason at the end of this episode, the Enterprise is just doing nothing while Pike's standing there being indecisive, and they're getting a shit kicking from the Gorn, but they're not getting blown apart like the Cayuga. I'm like, does the Enterprise have some sort of super shields that keep it from being blown apart by a
Uh,
heavily armed armada?
I think the Cayuga was like it was a sneak
Mhm.
attack. Is my feeling on the Cayuga. So I think they just didn't have time to put their shields up.
That
Oh,
makes
look
sense.
Maybe.
who's
Okay,
coming up with
sure.
some explanations now
I'm
on the
trying.
fly. You're so good, Namir. You're so good.
Because it seemed like in that last scene that he should have been decisive. Like it should have been like fall back, like follow the orders and withdraw. Like he should have said, "Okay, let's get out of here,"
Yeah,
and that should have been the to
Should
be
yeah.
it?
continued. Like standing there, like gawking off into the distance while you see the ships on the view screen just pulverizing the Enterprise. Like, what
Hmm.
are we gonna do, Captain? I'm like, but I know it's for dramatic purposes, but it's logically speaking, it seemed kind of stupid. Like you should say, "Oh
Yeah,
yeah, get us the hell out of here," and then it says "to be continued."
maybe
But
Pike's
yeah,
just not a good captain.
Woo.
sometimes he's not.
Like
See,
maybe he's just a good dad. Just, like because you're right. Like he was like kind of like I don't know what to do,
Mhm.
but you kind of
because
have to
yeah,
make a
like if I was a
decision.
captain there, that's what you do. You lose people, and you got to do what's tactically, what's going to
It's a lot of
do the
people.
most good. As withdraw, save your crew of 200 versus the three people plus the colonists that have been captured. I'm like, get the hell out of there. You've been
I mean,
ordered to get the
really,
hell out of there.
everybody that's important made it back to the Enterprise.
Yeah. Really?
Right?
Mabenga and Laan and Ortegas aren't important? Aw.
No, not really. Sam Kirk, give me a break.
But how much you want to bet? I'm calling it now. I mean, I know we got a long way ahead of us. That Mabenga's got some of that super serum up his sleeve, and he's gonna like go
Hmm.
all fucking crazy
Hmm.
on the Gorn and break out of their jail and kick some Gorn ass.
That's a cool fight.
I feel like they built up this super serum that he's high, storing on the ship, and that he's and he's gonna go all ballistic on them and break everybody out of the Gorn jail.
Hmm.
I guess we'll find out in
my,
2027.
my prediction is that his daughter is going to come out of the cloud, and she's going to put some little fairy
Nice.
dust.
Yeah, it's like nobody hurts my dad. Like,
So how do we feel about the resolution of this episode or lack thereof? Because it absolutely 100% drove me crazy that it said to be continued, because I just had these flashbacks to Battlestar Galactica season 3,
Hmm.
where they ended on a cliffhanger, and then it was literally a year later, and
Yeah.
and I was like, I don't think I can do this again. I don't think I can wait a year.
You just
And then
just gonna
Well, I
quit.
got bad news for you.
I'm gonna be a whole new person in a year. I'm not gonna care. I might even be like I might even like Star Trek anymore in a year.
Oh,
Like
definitely.
that's a long time.
Well, I think they had to do it,
Mhm.
right? Like it's there was no way it was going to resolve itself in an hour,
Yeah.
right? Like this is their Borg episode
Mhm.
with Picard, right? Like this is their big huge da 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 cliffhanger. It's just too bad that we're going to have to wait a while to see it resolve itself.
Yeah.
this
But
is the
that's not our
Kazon
fault.
taking over Voyager.
Nice.
Well, it is a simple solution to the end of this episode.
That was
All they have
nobody's
to
favorite
do is
cliffhanger. Stupid Kazon. Waste of space they were.
Basics.
but
Yeah, no.
all they have to do is activate the Omega device, right?
Mhm.
And then
That's
that
it.
fixes everything, right?
Yeah.
So am I the only person who's like pissed off about the to be continued?
I'm super into it. I think it's great.
I
Yeah,
yeah,
I love
I
it.
liked it.
I'm
Like
just like, I mean,
Come on,
yes, I
Amir.
want more, obviously, but I'm not upset I'm actually, I don't know. I'm the whole weekly rollout. I love it. I love the weekly rollout. I love that we can't binge this, you know.
Yeah.
And I like that I'm going to be able to watch this season again before the new episode. I'll probably watch the whole series again before the new episode airs, and I'll probably watch several of the series before the new episode airs.
Same.
But I
No.
don't know. I like it. I think it's nice to have in the world we live in, to have things not just completely available at all times. I like thinking about it for a while, or a year or two.
Anticipation is
For a
better-
year
sometimes
or
better
two?
than
Yeah,
the
okay.
actual thing.
It ages with wine, like wine.
I mean, to be fair, when they made this a cliffhanger, they didn't know that, you know, they were expecting to be filming at this point. So I'm giving them a little bit of grace in terms of, you know, not.
But I think they knew it was going to be a year because they're doing it once a year.
Yeah, I mean a year, but they didn't know it might be more than a year.
A year is too long.
And plus, like every TV show does this, right? Like there's always the last episode of a season there's always some sort of cliffhanger, right? Like, and I mean, I'm not taking it personally, right? Like I'm not personally insulted by it. I think the only difference is that they literally said to be continued. I bet if that wasn't there, you'd be like, "That was great. I can't wait until next season," you know. But I think that's not like a surprise, right? Like I'm not shocked by that.
I was totally shocked. I was not expecting that at all.
The fact that they left
do you
me
not
wanting...
watch TV? Like,
I watch Star Trek. Is the only thing I do. I watch Star Trek.
Even Lower Decks ends on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, they all do, man. That's how they get you. That's how they get you to come back.
I mean, Discovery's always wrapped up. Picard's always wrapped up each season. So is Discovery. There's never really been a cliffhanger in live action New Trek.
Right, but the difference is those are terrible shows.
Wait a minute, the cliffhanger. Hang on. Okay, seriously, the Discovery season 2 cliffhanger that left them 1,000 years in the future. Boom, they're gone, and Michael lands, and she's by herself.
I guess
that was a pretty large cliffhanger.
There was no to be continued, though. The to be continued screen made me feel like the 90s. It made me feel like
the 90s too, and it was like a big hug.
Yeah, see, they don't do the
a big warm
screen anymore. Even though they might have like episodes that storylines that carry on from season to season. There's never been like a true cliffhanger where you're actually like surprised when it's over. You're surprised when you see the to be continued, and you're left wanting more. And it was such a good ride. You know, that's a great cliffhanger. Like sometimes the cliffhangers are pretty weak. I remember Time Zero in Next Generation when they kind of just walk into the porthole like, oh, we got to go back in time. And that really didn't excite me at all.
Yeah, I think the only problem I have with it is if they pick up from where they left off next season, you know what Pike's going to do. Pike's going to be like, okay, let's retreat, right? He doesn't have any other choice. So I kind of wish that they had just done that and then done the cliffhanger, like then did the to be continued, right? Because so it's a little artificial, right? Like I think we all know what's going to happen. But who knows? Like I could be wrong when we watch it in 5 years.
Well, yeah, they're gonna come back and they're gonna start singing. They're gonna burst into song, and the Gorn are gonna be like, "Oh, you know, I know what's gonna happen. I know what's gonna happen." Okay, let's do our predictions. This is what's gonna happen. They're gonna come back season 3, episode 1. First of all, there's gonna be some sort of flashback thing. It's gonna start with. He's going to be on the bridge. He's going to be like, oh, my God, what do I do? And then flashback, and there's going to be like a childhood scene. And he's been like, he's going to be at a playground and remembering better times. And then that's going to be woven in. But then what's going to happen is the ship's going to be like falling apart and everybody's going to be, and then the Metrons are going to show up. And he goes, that's enough of that, you two. We're going down to a planet. It's time for a mano a mano.
Nice.
I predict the Metrons. No? Okay.
No.
What? Okay.
I already made my prediction. It's going to be Super Mabenga killing all the Gorn.
My prediction is that we're gonna see the bridge, and everybody's gonna be back on the bridge, safe and sound. The Gorn are going to be gone, and then Pike's going to be like, "Wow, that was dicey. We almost didn't make it out of that one." And then we'll just move into the next episode. That's it.
Oh my God.
Okay, Jenny, what's your prediction?
I don't know. Actually, the one prediction that I do have is that Batel is not going to die. That is one. Yeah. I do not think they're going to kill her.
Oh yeah.
Because I think it's too much, and I have faith in the writers that they're not going to fridge her.
Faith of the heart.
Faith of the heart. Exactly. That's my one prediction.
There's your favorite musical Star Trek moment. The Enterprise theme.
Isn't it everyone's?
That theme haunts me.
It's so good. Sometimes I sing that in the shower.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's just so catchy.
It is.
And it's so funny because the experience is universal. You watch it the first time and you're like, oh. And then the second time it's like, okay. And then within 3 or 4 times you're just like, you're singing along every time.
It's like the theme of every Star Trek series.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Are you guys ready to do some ratings? So we're going to do some brief final thoughts on episode 9, which is Subspace Rhapsody. Are you laughing at brief, Jenny? Because you know that Alan's not going to be brief?
Because it feels like a directed brief.
Yeah. And then we'll do that, and then we'll do the rating for episode 10.
I just want to say one thing about Subspace Rhapsody. I always have a hard time with Rhapsody. Keep
that in.
My mother really hated it. She specifically messaged me just to tell me the next day that was the worst Star Trek she had ever seen, and she's been watching since the 60s. So, but my dad loved it. He thought it was just delightful.
Nice.
So anyway, but I was somewhere in the middle. So I'll give that one because I did have fun, but I didn't like the singing so much of it. So I'll give it like a 7. I feel like I'm being a little. No, I'll give it an 8. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I feel like 7's a little too harsh.
It doesn't sound like an 8 out of 10.
That doesn't sound like an 8. I think you should give it a 7.
I don't know, because I was having a good time, but the singing parts I wasn't having much a good time. But the in between parts were really funny, and I was laughing.
That's like 80% of the episode is the singing parts. Okay, so
I don't know. I'm giving it an 8. We'll leave it there.
Is an 8 out of 10. Okay.
Yes. Just leave it there.
Okay, and Namir, let's hear your ratings.
I really liked it. I was going to give it an 8, but I can't give it an 8 because it's the same as Alan. Right? But I don't want to give it a 9. A 9 is too much. I mean, okay, it's a Namir 8. How about a Namir 8? It's. I think it's different than an Alan 8. So I'm going to give it a Namir 8 because I really liked it. I enjoyed it. I liked the music. I thought it was a lot of fun. I surprised myself by liking it. I was pretty sure I was going to hate it, and then it turned out to be the opposite. I think I just like music and joy, so this episode had it. So it's an 8. I
loved it. I loved it. I cried. I laughed. I mean, you know me. I like things, so I really like this. So I'm hesitant. No, you know what? I'm not hesitant. It's a 10. I'm giving it a 10. I loved it. I'll watch it 100 times. Yeah.
You're giving out 10s like crazy.
Jenny.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with joy, okay? I really like this episode. Like I said, I didn't love it the first time. It was weird to have singing. It was like the James Bond episode in Deep Space Nine. I love James Bond and James Bond and Star Trek together in the same episode. It was like too much. It was too much of a good thing. And I realized that was what was going on. It was like I couldn't handle an episode being this good and me feeling this good while watching Star Trek. So anyways, it's going to be a 9. It's a 9 out of 10. I enjoy myself very much.
All right.
Fantastic.
Okay, let's do episode 10, which is Hegemony. Is that how you pronounce
Hegemony.
Hegemony. Hegemony.
Perfect.
No,
like Rhapsody.
No,
Rhapsody.
That's exactly wrong,
Hegemony.
and what we did not say.
Hegemony.
Hegemon. Me. Okay.
Hegemony.
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 Is that even English?
Mony mo. I don't know.
Mole. Okay, episode 10. Our final thoughts. Let's start with Alan.
Love this. Say it made me have all the feelings I had watching old Trek in the '90s. It's such a great cliffhanger. I wish it was only a 3-month wait and not probably 2-year wait, but this checked all the boxes for a great Star Trek episode for me. But I'm hesitant to give it a 10 because it is a cliffhanger and you never know if it's going to pay off in the next, or they're going to shit the bed. So I like to think they're really doing a good job with this show. So I think they'll come up with something clever and well made. Can we do 0.5s? Because I really want to give this like a 9.5. Can we do the 0.5s?
Your life. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
All right, I'll
You
give
can
it
give
a
it like a
9.5.
point Z if you want.
So yeah, 9.5 out of 10. This is like almost perfect, but again, when it's a part 1 of 2, I really need to see both to say if it's a true 10 or not. So that 0.5 I'm leaving till I see the back half of this. Maybe maybe retrospect I'll give it a 10. But it was fantastic. I loved it.
Okay, Namir, what's your thing?
I'm going to give it a 9. I loved it. I thought it was a great episode. I'm not going to give it a 10 because it's not like, it's not a perfect episode. I need to see like the equivalent of like Apocalypse Now or Citizen Kane or something for it to be a 10. But it's a 9. I thought it was
Can
great.
you give Star Trek examples? What is an example of a 10 in Star Trek? Is there such a
10
thing?
in Star? That's a good question. What would be? Well, Wrath of Khan would be a 10.
Okay.
That's obviously a 10. That would be a 10.
Code of Honor.
Code of Honor. Yeah, it's up there.
All of season 1 of Next Generation is a 10. Okay,
I know.
The Big Goodbye is a 10.
See, that's what I said.
There you go.
That's what I said.
There you go.
And I got booed. But
it's not that good.
That's
It's not a perfect.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, my 10, I always say that too. I need to be emotionally moved and cry. And I didn't cry in this one either, so I also can't give it a 10 based on that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's true.
Last year's finale made me tear up, so I gave it a 10.
Nice.
Okay, Jenny, what are your final thoughts and your rating?
It's funny that actually like Alan's last point there about the crying actually I think emotionally they threw a ship, so that was awesome. I love when they throw a ship. But I feel like if I'm judging it against my other 10s, like those old scientists, it's a 9. I think it's a very high, enthusiastic 9, but it's not quite a 10. But I loved it. It was great. They threw a ship.
I also will give it a 9 out of 10. I enjoyed it very much. It was kind of like a 10 all the way through, and then at the end, there was nothing really wrong with it, but because it didn't really have a resolution in it, and it was kind of like what felt like a thrown together crisis at the end. It didn't really feel like a build up so much as like they're on to us now, and then I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna. I didn't have that at the end, and really I was just pissed off that I have to wait a year. I'm too old to wait a year to see a part 2. So, anyways, that's my thought. So, any other things? Anything else? No. Okay, so that is our review of episode 9 and 10 of Strange New Worlds. That is the end of season 2. We will be back in 2027 for season 3.
That's optimistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what they should do?
Go.
They should just do it with puppets, like with finger puppets.
That's something they haven't done.
Just where it's up,